Welcome to I Want That, getting the dates, love, and life you crave. I'm your host, Liza Cooper, a love and dating coach and founder of the online group workshops, Find Love After 50. My story, finding love, and more importantly, reawakening all the parts of me I thought were gone forever after 50 and after divorce, went viral on social media because it resonated for so many. Join me in my podcast as I interview couples, singles, and experts to uncover what love means in all of its beautiful forms, including the hurdles and how to overcome them. I'll also share the questions strangers have asked me on the streets of New York City about dating and relationships, where I'm known as the love coach. Together, we'll have powerful conversations that light the path to getting everything you want in life, especially in matters of the heart. And in season 1, The Bachelor Files, episode 3, The Nightmare Date, I interview the bachelor who broke my heart about the worst date I ever had with him. And it was our second. How did we navigate that? How did we get past it? How did we keep moving on together? Episode 3. Before we show my interview with a bachelor, listen to a quick clip of a stranger asking me how to find an honest partner on the streets of New York City, where I am known as the love coach. And what are the most important qualities to you in another person? I think honesty. Honesty, I would say that takes a long time to see if someone is honest. You can't find out on a first date or a second date. It takes time and trust, and you want to see how they act toward you over time. So then you invited me to a second date. I think it was the second date, which sounded just amazing. What was the second date?
In theory, it was really amazing. It didn't play out that way. So we went to the Oscar shorts at the IFC, and I remember it being freezing out that night. And we met out in front, and I had been to these Oscar shorts before, and they're usually pretty, they're 5 short films, different topics, some are hit or miss. But I'd done it before, but I didn't really research the topics of these 5 films at all. And I remember the first one being about a young kid in peril on the beach, calls the mom, and like the dad's disappeared, and there's this person getting close to me, and the mom's frantic, and the battery of the phone's running out. And it was a very disturbing film with a child in peril. And I remember feeling off your response to on some level, but there was no verbal communication. And I just remember after the first one going, "You all right?" And you said yeah. And then oddly enough, the second film was also about a kid in peril. It was 2 boys playing, and one ends up drowning in quicksand. And I'm starting to sense like there's now this theme. The third film was off that topic. The fourth film, I think, was 2 older kids planning to hurt a younger kid with a
They
battery.
killed him.
Like
They killed him.
it was almost based on a real story.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're clearly getting uncomfortable, and you left.
Yeah.
Can I
And
throw
just
it?
to preface that the
Yeah,
first story was about a divorced mom with a little boy, and her
yeah,
little boy was visiting the father and was like, abducted during the phone call with her. But every single short, except for one, was with a little boy in peril. And I was a divorced mom of a little boy. And so it was traumatic, actually. It was every single short was worse than the last.
yeah. They were really building an intensity. And then so
It
you got
was,
up and left. And truthfully, I thought you went to the bathroom, but you were there a while. You were out a while. And I was thinking, Where'd you go?" I wouldn't want to check in on you in the bathroom. So then you come back, and I think I said, "You're right." And then sure enough, the fifth film, it's about these family in a rural area. There's a gun. Early on, the kid grabs the gun, and this time you took off with your coat.
it was the most horrific date I've ever been on.
Yeah, it was
It,
rough. And I just, I mean, they were short films, so I figure I think there was a text issue. I think I texted you, "Are you okay?" And that's when you
I,
kind of articulated, this is a bit much. And I think you were waiting for me to come out. And my thinking was, well, it's a short film. I'll finish up. It's the last one, and then I'll come out. Which if
right, which was the wrong choice.
was not necessarily one of my finer choices, but it was a good film. I mean, despite the topic matter. And I remember coming out and you had your cell phone. It's very vivid. I'm sure to you too. And I think we kind of share the perspective of this. You had your cell phone, and you said, "How could you take me to this? Like, did you read about these?" And I said, "I didn't read about these at all. I just went to that." And I was trying to recover the evening. I said, well, let's go get some nachos or something. Let's go get, there's
You did.
margaritas or something. And I think you were just so thrown from it. And, like, it didn't occur to me the depths of how those films would have thrown you. And also, add on, uh, you went on it was like your second date. And I remember calling one of my close female friends, and she's, she too was a divorced mom, and said, "Oh yeah, yeah, she's probably got enough going on with just being back out in the dating world." And then I think the next day, I might, I think I texted you and said I'm not just dark movies. I like light rom-coms too, or some. I was trying to get back on track with you.
But I was done.
You were
I
done.
was done.
You were done.
I think we then ran into each other on a dating app again, maybe the same one. And you said nice new pictures or something.
So I reached out to you, hoping that the trauma of the Oscar shorts, which came to be known between us, that maybe that passed.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that that night I felt, you know, I'm accused of maybe being someone that needs to be seen.
Hmm.
And I felt, that you didn't sort of come to my protection and want to make sure I was okay. You were sort of too focused on watching the rest of the films and not sensitive to, that this was sort of too relatable and too traumatic and too scary and triggering. Um, but
Well, the
I,
film had to be seen before you could be seen.
yeah, clearly. So, but I think you did reach out, and I think I said men that are feminists are pretty rare on here or something like that. You're a rarity, and I knew that, and so somehow you said, "Come on, like I'll take you out for sushi, whatever." And so we ended up reconnecting and having a really amazing third date. It was at
Where
a little
it
French place.
wasn't sushi. I promised
No,
sushi and I didn't deliver.
you actually found a really beautiful sushi place, but because I'm a germaphobe, I read the reviews and they
Okay.
got like failing reviews. And you were like, I got to do better recon with you.
Yeah, it's true. Just don't do the recon. This is why I take a first date to the place that I know, so nothing else can go awry. We should have just kept going back to the bar where we met the first time.
I just want to ask about like, what were the things that you thought were good about us or me or us as a duo?
Well, not our shared taste in dark films. Um, I thought we had just a variety of connection. We could talk politics, we could talk arts stuff. I feel it now, even talking on this podcast. There was just a back and forth that from the get-go felt natural, felt open, like, had the right amount of flirtatiousness, but also the right amount of depth in it wasn't I wouldn't call it as banter. I don't know if we had banter. But we had
Right.
a connection, and it was a connection in a variety of ways. That's what I remember them a lot. I remember going on a date, and we were going to the theater. And I remember, like, we were standing on the subway, and it just felt very natural. It felt very natural to put my arm around you to hold you. So, like, it was this combination of a kind of a mental connection, an emotional connection, and a physical connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's lovely. And I mean, I think that you were so immersed in the political and had such knowledge of it and are a true creative. And so you really like reawakened a lot in me,
Oh,
awakened some things for the first time, but reawakened my creativity, my sexuality. my certainly it was very intellectually stimulating. And we would send each other articles all the time, right? Like New York
Yes.
Times articles, Modern Love, but a lot of political stuff. Like um, there was a lot of that kind of communication just all day long. I don't know that we were working at all. We're getting no work done for
Well, there
periods.
wasn't a lot of how was your day, which is good. I never liked that. How was your day? There was legitimate stuff that I think we were encountering in the world, and had a natural inclination to want to share it with the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there was depth to our communications.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, no, I was always very appreciative of that. Um, and once I remember we were eating at an Ethiopian restaurant,
Hmm.
and I think I said to you, and you were always very generous and everything, but it's interesting because when I do my dating coaching, who pays for dinner, especially among straight couples that are dating, like that's always a hot topic, and it brings up a lot of thoughts from women, particularly. And I know men have a lot of feelings about it too. But I remember I said to you um, that I'm a feminist who likes to be taken out for dinner. Is that wrong? And do you remember your response or
I must have insisted that you take out your credit card and pay for us.
yeah, no, you didn't say that, but you said, no, you said a feminist pays for dinner every few dinners.
Kind of each pulling out your credit card and divvying it up half and half isn't the most romantic moment in a date. And so,
No.
but we live in a world where both people are usually working, and yeah, it's nice to take somebody out, but it's nice also to hear, hey, can I take you out? It's just kind of an acknowledgement of I get it that we're both working, and I'm not
Yeah.
looking to have somebody buy me dinners all the time.
Well, I thought it was actually very wise what you said and respectful, but it was also not saying like we're going to just go back and forth or we're going to do Dutch. Like you sort of saw like some level of chivalry in it,
Mhm.
but there's also some equity in it. And I share that you say that
Mm.
in my groups with women.
I've kept track over the years, and you owe me $34.56. I've
Awesome.
I've been harboring this for years now, and I just wanted to come clean with it.
That's awesome. I will Venmo you
Okay.
after this this
Just,
much shorter one.
round down. You can round down. You don't have to include the cents.
Thank you. Always generous, always generous. Um, so um, I also am curious about what you didn't like about me, but we'll get into that a little later. But there's something people didn't know about that night I did the moth story, that it was the first time I ever did a moth. I had been going to the moth for 20 years. I took you to your first moth. We had like
Mhm.
an amazing time. But this one was after we ended our relationship. It was a couple months later, I think. Thank you for tuning into I Want That, season 1, The Bachelor Files, episode 3, The Nightmare Date. That's what a nightmare date looks like. It's one of many versions of a nightmare date. But look at that. We recovered from it. We were able to work through because people are imperfect. They make mistakes. They're tone deaf. They're insensitive. It's hard to communicate when you feel uncomfortable on a date because you're watching horrible movies that are triggering. So speak up. Always share your truth, set boundaries. And if things are reasonable enough, you can recover from these things and you can come back together and reconnect. So tune in next for episode 4. He hated kids. What was I thinking? I have a kid. What was I dating a guy who hated kids for? He didn't exactly lead with that in his dating profile, and he didn't say it on an early conversation, but he actually hated kids. So how did we get through that? Tune in to episode 4. If you liked my podcast, I Want That, please subscribe to my channel so you know when updates are coming and new episodes drop. Also, like it, comment, and share. Thank you.